And hello and welcome to AleksTabletops MTG Quick Study Best of 3 Direct Challenge 1. My name is Alex and let's start our first Best of 3 match. So let me launch everything and we set and go. In this matchup, RippyG faced DeDutch as part of currently running Undercity Coliseum community tournament. This is round 1. This was my first experience in tournaments, never played tournaments before, so it was pretty interesting. Again, unfortunately, I wasn't prepared for a tournament necessarily. I kind of approached tournament as a fun thing, and because of this, I kind of created a pretty weird deck that's not necessarily going to be good in tournament, because again, this is kind of a junk deck, or jank deck, which is not going to be effective in most cases, so, and yeah. So the first part of this video, I'm going to just basically, we're just basically going to watch match, rewatch it, and I'm going to comment on it. And after this, I will try to kind of analyze it in a little bit more depth, because again, for me, it was kind of a quick one. I didn't even realize what happened. Like, it was just like snap, 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 and it was over pretty quickly. So it was pretty interesting one. So I guess, yeah. So this particular instance, I don't know about the fact, like, that I actually took a pretty decent hand or not. Like, I 100% was sure that I will get at least one forest, and mostly one forest is more than enough for this deck. So, considering the fact that I had 3 lands and the possibility to potentially bring back something from graveyard, I actually kind of thought, okay, it could be a pretty decent hand. Because again, when we talk about jank decks, it's pretty hard to kind of know what the hand is a good hand, because usually it's adaptable deck. It's all about adaptability. By the way, if the DeDutch would block this one, it would be awesome. But of course, why would we? Why would he block that one? Because it was, yeah. So we get Land of our Elves, which I ideally played. But instead, I probably decide to play Poison Tip Archer instead, in order to block Drake, because Drake will grow pretty quickly. Again, we're going to analyze the deck that we played against. So is my deck in a current state, so as a sideboarded state after all games will finish. But at this particular instance, again, I knew that I need to put like an additional mana. I probably should do that. I don't know. It was probably a mistake. I kind of was focused on blocking the Drake. I knew that the opponent might kill Poison Tip Archer, but the opponent had only 1 live coil at that point in his current deck, and it was exactly the thing that the opponent had in his hand. It was kind of disappointing. So I lost my blocker, and from that point on, I kind of started to panic a little bit and started to make weird decisions. Again, at this point, I probably should continue. I probably should put Land of our Elves, because if I would put Land of our Elves, even the turn before, I would have a little bit more advantage. Maybe even opponent would use Lava Coil to actually kill our Land of our Elves instead of killing our DeDutch blocker. So again, I did a lot of misplays here, definitely, and lack of mana definitely now is killing me. I mean, if I would have had a lot of ourselves in play, I would have had 2 forests, potentially at least, and I would have more possibilities. And also, this actual deck in its regular state doesn't have that much of removal. So my sideboarded deck is a little bit more prepared to play against Drakes, but again, as I gained kind of a new information for me personally that I didn't know before, that if you're playing a tournament or best of 3, you can't play right away with the sideboarded deck. You have to play with the exact state of the deck that you submitted to the tournament. So it was kind of a bummer personally for me, because I knew that this current state of the deck was not ready for Izzets, so I knew that I'm not going to be able to play good against Drakes. Even if I would have had a perfect hand, it would be hard. And considering the fact that I get mana screwed completely, and because I made like quite bad plays, again, I believe I should play Llanowar Elves. Now I see that like as quickly as possible. Yes, I probably would lose it, but again, it would be better. So yeah, at this point I'm 100% sure that I'm going to lose, of course, because again, the thing with Izzets, they're pretty... by the way, I completely disregarded the fact, like, I completely forgot to look through the opponent's graveyard, and I didn't notice to when exactly opponent actually placed Phoenix on the graveyard, because again, it was pretty early morning for me. It still kind of is, so during this recording. So because of this, I'm kind of I was pretty unfocused. Usually in mornings, I need a little bit more time to kind of put my brain into like state of playing Magic, and of course, like I'm not like getting any excuses. I lost because I lost, but again, it would be awesome, of course, if I would have had a little bit more kind of I don't know, practice, I don't know, in the morning. Like usually I'm playing for about like at least a couple of matches before going into something serious, but again, usually I'm playing Magic for fun, so regardless of that. So right now I'm kind of chatting with the opponent, we're kind of deciding on stuff, usually, since Direct Challenge is now not supporting best of 3, we have to decide if we want to take an advantage in draws or who's going to go first. We need to restart match multiple times. It's not necessarily something that I like. I don't believe that this is something that other people like, the fact that we have to do that, but this is the best thing that we can do at this particular instance. So, quick reminder, by the way, while we're waiting, that MTG Quick Study is a series of one match, in this particular instance a best of 3 games, episodes that focuses on learning from my own matches by rewatching and trying to analyze them. So right here I am choosing my alternative version of this deck, basically with the sideboard. So this is exactly the same deck, but it's a little bit more fit against Izzets, so it specifically was created against this matchup. And again, we're going to look through them in details in the end of this video. So, as you already noticed, we're playing with Golgari, green-black versus blue-red Izzets. So, this is the second game. It was kind of a deciding one. I mean, the first game, okay, I knew that I didn't have that much of a potential to win the first game because of the current deck state, but sideboard deck is a little bit more prepared to go against Izzets, and I still don't know if I actually took a good hand or not in here. So I had 2 starting mana. I had a pretty good kind of hand overall. We had Cast Down in case opponent will place a early Drake. We had a Doom Descender if opponent will place goblins that basically reduce the cost of instants and spells to basically block or whatever, or attack to basically deal some damage. So yeah, we get Son of Fairy Tale, which is good. Kral, the Harpooner, it's kind of cool too, but again, it's not necessarily works good against Drakes unless we have something in our graveyard. So ideally this hand would be perfect. I mean, if we're going to lose Doom Descender, we will be able to use Harpooner to kill a Drake, because Harpooner is 3/2, and by having a Doom Descender on the graveyard, of course, we will be able to kill it, deal it exactly 4 damage by fighting. So at some point I get, I believe in this game I got mana screwed too. So the first game I kinda got mana screwed. If I didn't make a mistake by not playing Llanowar Elves, I probably maybe would even had a chance, I don't know, or at least the game would be a little bit longer. And in this particular instance, I am definitely getting mana screwed. So at this particular point, the place where I need to put a land in play, I don't have the ability to do so. So for that I have Sword of Fairy Tales. It's basically give me a mana. But again, I wish I had more creatures though. And I will put Vampire. So again, this is the problem that I have with junk decks, with the jank decks in most cases. They're pretty unreliable. You need to learn how to create them and how to basically work around unreliable strategies, because usually if this deck works, it truly works. I mean, it has so many big plays that it's just basically crazy. One thing that I knew right away, the reason why I'm not going to block this one is because I know that opponent has a Shock. Most likely, there's 4 copies of Shock in opponent's deck, and since I knew that opponent probably would kill my Vampire, and I would rather have an additional mana than to lose. Yeah, so now we kind of will have a 5 mana. So this particular instance, I don't know what's the best solution. Again, I could play a Harpooner, but I can't because we don't have anything in our graveyard. I could attack, kind of force opponent into blocking. I believe this is exactly what I will do. I truly don't remember like what I will do here. We'll see. Yeah, and while I'm thinking what to do, another type of reminder that direct challenges, this is a part of the MTG Quick Study series that basically focuses on kind of a direct interaction, and this is a way for you to challenge me and have the chance to be a part of MTG Quick Study willingly, not just by random, which usually is happening in MTG Quick Study. I'm just playing, I'm recording matches, and players not aware of the fact that I'm recording matches and then posting them. So, because these players are kind of random. But the cool thing about direct challenges, like since these are direct challenges and we kind of have to know each other, or at least kind of, yeah, to direct challenge ourselves, this is kind of a direct way to be featured here, which is pretty cool. If especially if you don't have the opportunity to record your matches and watch them and etc. So yeah. So this particular instance, I don't believe that I'm going to win this match, or this game, but we still have a chance. I mean, we have Raska's Contempt, we have Necrotic Wound, we have Crowl the Harpooner. So this particular instance, I will attack. I probably should attack with both of them in this particular instance. I completely forgetting that this thing makes my creature's vigilance indestructible. I probably press a pause, unfortunately. Okay, that was quite interesting. So, me and my opponent had a pretty big time difference in terms of the living areas, about 11 hours or so. So, my early morning is the opponent's evening, so pretty late evening. So because of this, it kind of put me in a pretty interesting position, because like opponent wanted to go to sleep and I like had lack of sleep and it was pretty early morning and it was pretty weird. So we kind of had, I guess, both. We had disadvantage, so it was interesting. Skibbity ba-boom. So yeah, again, I don't want to analyze anything at this particular point, because again, my game plan is not working and there's nothing to talk about. I mean, this is the difference between, I guess, reliable decks that opponent has. Opponent has a pretty reliable deck. It's actually a pretty like solid deck, and my deck is not solid at all. I mean, it's all over the place. It can surprise you, definitely, but the thing about surprises, they might happen, they might not, so this is something that you can predict. And I'm completely aware, like, of the deck that I'm playing. I knew that if I will like, if I will face a certain decks that are going to be too reliable, I'm not going to be able to stop them, because again, I need to adapt to my own strategy and change it depending on what I have. Because again, usually my decks have at least multiple strategies, and I need to adapt a current situation and current state of my deck. That was pretty good, by the way. I mean, if opponent didn't do that, I might have a chance. So again, considering the fact that opponent has 4 shocks, it kind of makes it, for me, yeah, pretty bad. In this particular instance, I don't even know what to do. I don't have any flyers. Yes, I probably will exile Enigma Drake with Roscoe's Contempt, which is not here to do that. Or maybe not. No. I probably will exile Phoenix. This is going to be my last play before losing. So this particular instance, I know that I'm not going to be able to utilize Necrotic Wound anyway. So I kind of thought to actually use it beforehand to kill a Goblin and force opponent into playing spells with more cost. But I kind of missed that, and instead of it, I'm deciding to do it now. I believe I will do it right. No, I actually will do it next turn. Again, I was pretty unfocused. This is one of the problems for me playing in early mornings. Usually early in the morning, I'm pretty unfocused, and I need to go through a little bit of Magic matches in order to basically set my brain into playing Magic. So, and again, no excuses, but still, it kind of sometimes has an effect. The only reason why I was disappointed a little bit by both of my games, because I actually thought that my deck will show itself a little bit better than it showed. Like, basically opponents just basically destroyed me in both games. It was pretty disappointing personally for me, because, I don't know. I truly thought that my deck will show itself a little bit better. And the fact that we got mana screwed in both matches was pretty disappointing. After this match, we actually played with this opponent another game, which was pretty awesome game. And in that game, I got mana flooded. So here I got mana screwed, and in both games, hopefully I said it right before. So yeah, in both of these tournament matches, I got mana screwed twice, and also I made quite couple of misplays, I believe, because I wasn't focused enough. And the interesting thing, though, I was prepared to fight against Izzet in this particular instance, but again, I guess now I'm starting to truly understand what is reliable deck and what is unreliable jank deck. So before that, I didn't necessarily knew the difference. I mean, it was quite a good play, and if I would have had some type of removal, we actually, depending on the state of the opponent's hand, we could actually have a chance. And by the way, right here, this is going to be the glitch that never happened for me. That was pretty weird. I mean, you see, no matter, like, it's just basically not tapping itself. Oh, it's not a glitch. I didn't have mana. Okay, now I understand that. For some reason I thought that this was a glitch, but I completely forgot that I didn't have mana for it. So I tried to tap a creature that basically it's not going to be able to be tapped. So okay, stupid me. Understood. So again, this is the problem when you are waking up early and not ready necessarily to play an intelligent game. So you're making pretty weird mistakes, and it's interesting. It's actually pretty fun. And right here, again, I had a chance to resurrect a Harpooner and basically do something with Enigma Drake, but again, didn't have enough mana. If I didn't have mana screwed, I probably would be able to kind of play that thing. And again, it was pretty disappointing. But again, I knew that I will face this type of a pressure when it comes down to the reliable Enigma, or basically the Drake deck. Because Drakes are pretty, like, again, there is a way to disrupt them pretty quickly, so most of the people don't have troubles with fighting against Izzets, and especially the Drake decks. But most of my decks are actually struggling with them because of the fact that they're not that consistent as Enigma Drakes. The thing about Enigma... wait, why Enigma Drakes? The Drakes overall. The Drakes are pretty reliable because they have one big strategy that works. So... And the problem with my decks, they usually have multiple strategies that either will work or not. So again, this video it, like, actually turns out pretty weird. So let's just go through the quick analysis. I will try to analyze things to the best of my abilities, but again, since I had lack of sleep, I'm probably not going to do a good job. So we're going to watch two states of the deck, so let's just go and analyze. Yeah, so this is my Nature Seekers in its regular state. This is the state of my deck in a game 1. So yeah, but basically I lost the best of 3, unfortunately, so it's time to basically try to analyze things. I will try to do my best, but again, I'm not necessarily... will do a good job, I believe. We'll see. So again, in terms of the lands, I had everything that I could. Ideally, of course, before tournament, I tried to get as many rare lands as possible, but as you see, the first of my problems is basically the fact that I have a bad mana fix. So, I mean, yeah, these guys are entering battlefield tapped. 2 of these guys entering battlefield tapped, and this kind of enters battlefield tapped unless I pay 2 lives, and since I don't have that much cards that basically gain life back, I'm kind of at a disadvantage. So, and of course, I don't have enough copies of this. Ideally, I would have 4 copies of this, 4 copies of this, 0 copies of Full Art Chart, and those guys I actually crafted beforehand to kind of have some type of returners. Now I don't know about this decision, but it's still fine. So Lana Royale's here to basically boost my mana, because usually I could have troubles with mana, and game 1 was exactly that, so Lana Royale's actually could help us to gain that mana that I was desperate for. Ideally, if I would have 4 cemeteries and tombs, I wouldn't probably put Lana Royale's here, but I don't know. It all depends. Vampire here is to basically, again, this deck in most cases is passive. It's not focuses on attacks, or at least I didn't build it based on attacks. My attacks here are kind of passive, so I'm draining life from the opponent with Vampire, I'm draining life with the opponent by basically killing my own creatures and utilizing Poison Tip Archer thing. And also Twilight Prophet is a big kind of strategy for this deck. So all of these cards, so Poison Tip Archers and Twilight Prophets, are the main strategy for this deck, almost in most cases. And Thundershoot Triad too. So these basically 3 cards, or as it 6 here, are the main strategy. This is kind of a helper that if we will get to the Multani, it will definitely help us a lot. We could win game with Multani. The Giant is kind of a pretty interesting surprise. I kind of love this card in general, because it basically deals 1 damage to target opponent for each creature card in your graveyard, which is pretty sick. Kind of love this thing. It's not necessarily good for this deck, because I don't have that many creatures that could end up on a graveyard. But in case of the long game, this Giant will actually be able to surprise opponent pretty in a pretty interesting way. So yeah, this is right here again. If we'll have troubles with lands, Son of Fairy Tales again for the same purpose. If we will have troubles with mana, Um, I added this one probably like a couple of hours before submitting the deck. I didn't properly test it, but I decided, okay, it could be a good idea to actually place it on, for instance, Twilight Prophet and actually save it. Or Poison Tip Archer, and that way it will get back and we will be able to bring all cards that we basically lost from our graveyard, which is pretty cool. Status here, and this is actually pretty good. Ideally I would have more copies than one, but unfortunately I didn't, so I had only one status. So the first part is basically gives a +1/+1 and Death Touch until end of the turn to creature, and the other part basically kills, removes either creature, artifact, or enchantment. So it's actually pretty good kind of removal on a blocking stage for cards with trample or whatever, or with hexproof that I'm not going to be able to kill with direct spells. The same goes for Dire Fleet Prisoner, Poisoner. So usually people have like at least 4 copies of Assassin's Trophy. I have only one, so it was quite weird. 1 cast down, again, removal. One thing if I will have problems with draws, Costly Plunder, 2 Rosky's Contempt, my max, 2 Sapperling Migrations in order to basically produce tokens and support Tendershoot Dryad strategy, and also create an early blockers. But again, against Izzets it was pointless. Again, most of these cards against Izzets didn't work at all, and because of this, it kind of was disappointing. And Gruesome Fate isn't here. If we will be able to survive long enough by producing a lot of Sapperlings and overall tokens and creatures in play, then basically hit opponent with the Gruesome Fate, which is one of the most interesting wins that I like to go with this deck. So Ritual right here wouldn't work because again, only small drakes have a cost of 3. The big drakes have a cost of 4. So again, Ritual wouldn't work here either. Yeah, we didn't get to Roska, not to neither of those. Roska at least could help me to draw additional cards and gain more lives by sacrificing certain creatures. But again, considering the things that we had in our hand, it wasn't kind of working. My sideboard would be better, and I'm going to show you a sideboard version of the deck in a bit. So, of course, for exchange scriptures would work perfectly against a lot of Izzets, but the problem with Izzets, they're pretty cautiously, and usually they're not putting a lot of drakes in play. As I noticed, like by playing against a lot of Izzets, usually they're putting 1 creature at a time, forcing opponent to use a removal on that creature, and then starting to put creatures with the bigger power. So the thing about Izzets, they're not necessarily that kind of fast, and they play cautiously, and usually if you will start to put too many drakes at the same time, you can get hurt pretty quickly. So this guy is here too. It kind of works perfectly for this type of strategy. If opponent will place only 1 Izzet at a time or 1 drake at a time, it will be able to remove them that way. So this is right here, kind of just to remove creatures with hexproof. Not working for this. Torgar, I actually had a plan to put this one in case we will get to a pretty long match and opponent will almost kill me, and by putting Torgar, I basically will regain life back and make game a little bit longer. So he's here not necessarily to make opponent weaker, but actually bring life back to a half life total, which is basically 10. Walk the Plank again, early removal. This one again, just more things against drakes. Fontaine isn't here, would be a good idea. I mean, since drakes are usually relatively long, we could gain a lot of lives. So Rise from the Grave again. The plan for this card was, especially against Izzets, to basically bring something back that opponent could have. I actually had a plan to probably bring back something like Perun from the graveyard, or Phoenix, basically steal Phoenix. Where are the Phoenixes? Yeah, either steal Phoenix or Crackling Drake. So again, talking about reliable deck and unreliable deck. Unreliable deck has like crazy amount of cards. The maximum copy of one card is 2. And reliable deck, okay, no, this is a tournament standings. Then reliable deck is basically, it's smaller. 3 goblins, 4 enigma drakes, 4 phoenixes, 3 drakes, and that's it. I mean, 14 creatures, 4 represented by 4 types. It's much likely to actually win with this type of thing, but it's not necessarily the thing that I like to play. Like, I actually kind of like to play this variable decks, but again, it starts to hurt me in the long run, unfortunately, especially considering tournament. I don't believe that it's going to show itself in tournament pretty well, which is clear. I believe experienced players definitely would see this deck as a complete jank and wouldn't even see how it could work, because they have a little bit more experience. And yeah. So again, this is just an additional artifact removal, which wouldn't work for this deck. This is additional draw. Slimefoot wouldn't be important here. Tyrant could work if it would get to it. This one could work as an early removal, not early, but kind of mid-game removal for Drakes. This is again as a passive defender, passive mana, and this is to basically fix mana if I had troubles with colors. So, and this is my version of the same deck, but that I built specifically against Drakes. So again, Harpooner is here, this guy is here, Tyrant is here, Golgari is here, Poison Tip Archer is still here, Twilight Prophet is still here, Multani is still here, additional vampires here, so basically 2 of them total. I kept Giants, of course Sandu is here. It was a shame that I didn't get enough Sandus throughout the 2 matches that we played. It was kind of a shame. In the first match, one of them got destroyed, or in the second one, and I didn't get enough of them. Again, ideally, if I would make this deck a little bit more consistent, I would put 2 copies of this guy. 4 copies of this guy. I would put like, I don't know, probably 4 copies of Twilight Prophet, 4 copies of Poison Tip Archer, and certain amount of removal. I actually have 4 copies of Poison Tip Archer, but it didn't work, and I decided to remove it. Instead, again, this is just the way that I like to play games. I don't like when I have too many copies of one card. It's just like 4 copies, it seems too much for me personally. I'd rather have a interesting game than to have some type of a predictability. And again, I'm pretty weird in Magic, so I guess I'm hurting myself at that point. So either way, yeah, we had Journey of Eternity, of course, Phyrexian Scriptures are here, Necrotic Wound in here, Work the Plank. So basically I put all removals and Fountain of Renewal and this thing. So of course this would work against Drakes a little bit better. So all removals that I would have, I would place here, and let's stay the same. So yeah. So the only thing that changed in this deck, basically, most of the cards from here, like I completely removed the strategy of tokens from here. I removed Slimefoot, especially considering the fact that opponent had Fiery Cannonade, I would basically lose Dryad, all Sapra lanes right away. Because of this, I decided, okay, we definitely need to get rid of Slimefoot, both, like I had one copy before. Plague Mares are not important because, again, my opponent doesn't have any tokens in the deck. This one is not going to work because there's no creatures that are not flying to kill with DeDutch that way. So Tendershoot Dryad wouldn't work. It would be killed right away, either with Shock or whatever. So it would be a waste of turn. Yeah. Since Drake could be relatively fast if they got lucky, Blood Divination wouldn't help me. Ritual, again, it's better to have one Phyrexian Scriptures than Ritual in this particular instance. Of course, removed Saproling Migrations, removed Gruesome Fate because there's not enough creatures to deal that much of a damage. Removed Encyclopedia and didn't put this one in main board. So again, I believe this version it's a little bit better against these sets, considering the fact that I have, but than the previous one. But again, game 2 didn't work at all. I mean, if I had proper cards, I probably should actually... No, I believe I actually took a pretty decent hand. I just didn't get lucky with lands. If I didn't get mana screwed, and had a little bit more consistency, I guess, overall in the deck, before submitting it, it would be better. But again, it's all about analyzing, so it seems pretty slow. Like what I'm doing right now, it's just analyzing on a go, and I'm learning from this. As people are said that going through the tournament, it's a good experience for everyone. It's definitely an eye-opening thing, because before that I played Magic without necessarily thinking about effectiveness of the deck or efficiency of the deck. I knew that some decks are efficient, some decks are not. I knew the overall understanding between the types of decks, but now it's a little bit more eye-opening than it was before, which is pretty cool. So in the end, I will learn a lot of things throughout this tournament. Hopefully I will... Like, again, I already lost 2 matches, so 2-0 at this particular instance, so we'll see what will go here. We'll have Swiss rounds in here, so I probably will play at least a couple of more rounds until elimination. So, yeah. Hopefully it will be a pretty interesting experience. But again, I can't change anything else, like anymore, so whatever I submitted, I submitted. Let's just like take the best out of it, learn how to work with it, and maybe after this tournament I will rethink certain things and make adjustments accordingly. So, and these adjustments probably will be maybe to think about a little bit more consistency in the decks. But again, it's pretty hard to make a deck consistent when you not spending all your wilds on one deck only. Like, if I would have had only one kind of desire to build just one deck, I would probably already built it, because I had more than enough wilds since start of the open beta. But I actually needed to, I don't know, I want to experiment, I want to create a lot of interesting decks, and of course because of this I don't have one specific deck that I want to put all my wilds into, so... and kind of makes things a little bit harder in terms of the creating consistent decks. Either way, I guess let's just slowly sum up this video. It's already too long. Like 20 minutes of match and 20 minutes of me talking nonsense, so it's probably not going to be that interesting. But again, yeah. So I guess this is kind of it. I guess this sums up things. Again, these are all decks that are in tournament. There's a lot of them. In terms of the colors, all of them are pretty interesting. I mean, there's a lot of blue, which I'm mostly scared of, kind of. I hate Demirs, so in most cases my deck doesn't like Demirs at all. Usually I'm losing to them. So yeah, I don't even know what Sultai looks like, so it's going to be an interesting one. Grixis. There's a lot of Izzets here. It's definitely Drakes are kind of popular, which makes me even more anxious, because since I lost my first matchup against Drakes, I'm probably going to lose the rest of the matchups with Drakes. Ugh, hopefully not, but still. I'm still looking at things positively, regardless of me losing again. I'm here to gain experience, and I'm getting one. It's a pretty harsh experience, but it still will make me better as a Magic player, hopefully. So yeah, we have a lot of Golgari, especially mid-range. My Golgaris are one of the only tokens. I believe there's only one person that has Golgari tokens, James Brown. And me. This is the only two people that basically has Golgari tokens. And the thing is, only my main deck specializes on tokens. My sideboard deck is completely different. It's not specializes on tokens at all. So it's an actual mid-range, I believe. So I specifically created a deck that basically could adapt to any situation. But again, you can't create this type of deck unless it's consistent. And the inconsistency of my deck is basically the thing that kills me. But whatever. This is something that will be a learning experience. And there's that. It's actually pretty interesting that we don't have that many mono green Stompy. It's interesting. Like only 3. Like seriously? Okay. As an alternative, by the way, I wanted to submit my mono black. My mono black was a little bit more consistent because, again, one of the things that I'm starting to think after this experience, small one but still experience, is if you want to build a jank deck, no, it's probably not a good idea to say that, but still, I don't know. At this particular instance, I don't know, my position that the only way to build a somewhat consistent jank deck is to build it, if you don't have that many cards, is to build it from one color only, which will limit this deck, of course, but at least it will be a little bit more consistent because you're not going to struggle with mana, at least. But if you have jank deck with multiple mana, its inconsistency now will increase, and this is my position at this point. Maybe I will change that position, but this is the thing that I'm thinking of at this particular instance, that by reducing it to one color it might get better, but again, then we're going to lose the fun. So yeah, I guess this is kind of sums up. I don't know, it was truly hectic. I actually thought that this episode is going to get a little bit better, like will actually be a little bit better, but again, I'm pretty kind of, I don't know, a little bit disappointed in my deck, and because of this, I guess this disappointedness definitely results in me talking nonsense, so I'm kind of all over the place. I doubt that someone is going to watch the whole video. I'm 100% sure about it. So, like, oh, come on. This is pointless. There's a lot of Boruses, by the way. So, again, Boruses are going to be pretty aggressive for me personally, which kind of will hurt me. So, from now on, I guess to sum up this thing, I need to think about the hand that I'm taking. So, I probably need to practice my deck a little bit better and now try to think in terms of the hands that I'm going to take, and never take the hand that is fine. I need to take a perfect hand. So because one of the mistakes that I'm making constantly is taking the hand whatever I'm getting. So because I know if I'm going to mulligan, I'm going to lose card advantage, and usually if it's somewhat playable, I'm taking it. I'm not risking it to mulligan, which probably something that I should do more, because risking into mulligan would potentially lose me a card advantage, but remember that I still have a scry, which will give me the ability to at least control what I will get next, and mulliganing into 5 maximum or minimum cards would be a good idea for my deck to actually make it a little bit more controlling in terms of the outcome, what I could get next, because with this deck, taking the first hand usually gets me losing because of its inconsistency. Of course, it all depends what hand I will get, but still. I guess this is the takeaway from this thing. Again, in terms of the matches, if I will remember what matches was, in terms of the matches, I believe if I would play right the first game, it could be a little bit more interesting, and I wouldn't lose that fast. Second game, I probably didn't have a chance unless I would have more mana. So mana is definitely was lacking, and because of lacking mana, mana screw, basically I got screwed. So it was pretty interesting experience. So yeah, I guess that's kind of sums up this weird episode. I don't know. Again, this was the first episode for a this type of new part of a direct challenge MTG Quick Study series, which will focus on best of 3. Again, these episodes are going to be inconsistent. For now, I'm going to upload weekly until I will be eliminated from tournament, which is going to happen likely, then winning it or getting into the top 8 with my stupid deck. No, don't believe that. But still, yeah. Yeah. I guess I will be a little bit better in the second episode, because again, this is the first episode. I didn't know in what exactly format to actually record it. Like, yeah, I knew that we were going to watch the match first, then probably go through some type of analysis. We actually didn't analyze the opponent's deck that much, because again, the drakes are pretty clear. So you have a couple of drakes in your possession. You basically boosting them as much as possible by playing small spells with 1 mana cost, which opponent had more than enough, basically you're boosting drakes until you will boost them to a proper size and basically attacking. If you don't have a removal for drakes, they just basically going to kill you even in 1 or 2 turns. So this is one of the reasons why people are choosing drakes, because they're pretty effective. So it's actually a pretty reliable strategy. I mean, if we actually will see opponent's deck, it's truly consistent. It works pretty well. I would even say that it works perfect. I mean, let's just truly look at it through it. Again, these goblins reduce the cost for spells that cost 2, which basically makes them 1 cost. Perfect. Cheap drakes, a lot of them. Phoenixes that you can basically put in your graveyard. Usually this is the solution that you will get. And usually you will cast at least 3 spells per turn, and they will get back and basically will attack. So Phoenixes kind of worsen the situations for the opponent, or for whomever playing drakes are playing against. These drakes are pretty annoying because kind of they go with additional draw, and even if you exile cards from opponent's graveyard, they still will get power equal to those cards. It was kind of an interesting one, yeah. It says right here, I don't know, I actually played a lot of against a lot of Izzets with this guy. It's pretty annoying too, but again, they mostly kill you with constantly dealing 1 damage by playing the same type of deck. So again, Izzets have a 1 solid strategy that could be modified with different types of creatures. So the strategy stays the same, It's one big strategy, but it basically, you can change it with the different types of creatures. So Phoenixes are good, and Izzet it's for a little bit longer games. I guess these are a little bit more aggressive, and this is for longer games. If you're playing against control, you would probably choose this. If you're playing against mid-range, you probably would choose Phoenixes or whatever. Or against aggro, probably Phoenix is better. So Dive Down, it's pretty crazy card in here. It definitely saves a lot of drakes that opponent potentially could target, and having like 3 or 4 copies of them, it's kind of crazy. Fire Cannonade again, it's a good way to remove small creatures. Negate, for me personally, a negate is questionable here. I guess it's here in order to counter spells that will target drakes. Again, the main idea is to prevent drakes from dying. Yeah, this is in here to basically have a choice and put more Phoenixes into graveyard maybe, or more instants and sorcerers into graveyard. Again, just a quick spell. Lava Coil again. Pretty awesome removal. Definitely one of the top ones nowadays. So yeah, again, it's still good. I mean, it's going to be hard for me to fight against these Izzets, and I believe most of the Izzets are going to stay within the same strategy, so they're going to be kind of similar, with slight differences. We saw these Izzets actually had a game controller, which was pretty cool. I don't know if regular Izzet decks have game controllers or not, but this game controller is definitely a pretty interesting kind of variation. So yeah, I guess this is kind of definitely sums up this episode. Again, I don't want to make it too big. It's already almost an hour long episode. Talking about MTG Quick Study, it's not quick anymore. But regular episodes usually are going to be much quicker. I'm going to go through a best of 3 and that's it. I'm not going to overall analyze decks and etc. like I did here. The only reason why this episode is so long is because this is a tournament kind of episode, and I just want to talk about stuff. So because matches were kind of, for me personally, a little bit disappointing because I lost that quickly, and that I just basically got destroyed, and it was kind of, yeah. Okay, so sorry about this weird episode again. This is the first one in this type of series. I don't know how exactly it's going to go, how I'm going to continue to record those type of and put out those type of recordings, considering Undercity Coliseum community tournament. Once tournament will end, these episodes will proceed in a little bit different format. We still will play best of 3, but these best of 3 matches are going to be a little bit different, so we're not going to include any tournament talk and any type of crazy analysis as we have in tournament, unless we will decide to create our own tournament, I don't know, at some point. Yeah, this is not going to happen any soon with my limited experience. So yeah, I guess this sums up this episode. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, give it a boost and invite your friends, which is important here for direct challenges. If you want more, subscribe and set the bell note. Visit AleksTabletops on Twitch to be a part of MTG Study live sessions. Have a nice day or night, and see you in the next best of 3 direct challenge. Bye.